In her ruling, Judge Naicker says any person who takes part in the protest action will not enjoy protection offered by Section 67 of the Labour Relations Act.
Cosatu and SASBO are hereby interdicted and restrained from proceeding with, encouraging or enticing employees to engage in the intended protest action or any conduct in contemplation or in furtherance thereof, unless and until such time as they have complied with the Section 77 of the LRA.
Business Unity South Africa says it has always said that there's no need to disrupt the economy in this way when the NEDLAC channels are open.
We have always said that disruption to the economy through any form of industrial action is not what the country needs right now. And we're happy that the judge has in fact put an end to this intended protest action, which we have always said was non-compliant in any event with the section. So we encourage social dialogue at NEDLAC, and we think the judge has reaffirmed that position.
SASBO and Cosatu say this is not the end. They intend to appeal the decision. Cosatu says it feels betrayed by NEDLAC, which was the third respondent in the case.
We expected them to come here and support what we have submitted or oppose Cosatu, but they did not do that. So to us, it tells us NEDLAC, for us, its integrity or credibility is questionable.
In the meantime, Friday remains business as usual. Liabo Setho, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, we are now joined by the reporter on that story, Liabo Setho, who's from our economics desk. Liabo, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a story that we've been watching this whole week.
It has
and I just wonder, what did the Banking Association say? They must have been relieved.
Look, they were very relieved. We caught up with Kes Kuvadia, who is the managing director at the Banking Association of South Africa, also known as BASA. And his first comment was that it's so unfortunate that it had to reach these levels. Remember, all these parties sit together at NEDLAC, and this is where it ought to have started and maybe ended and even resolved there. But take a look at what he says for yourself.
It's unfortunate we had to go to court for an interdict. If the proper procedures are followed, we needn't have gone to court on this, and we would have respected a procedurally correct strike. Having said that, I think it gives us an opportunity to take a step back, all of us, and start engaging on the underlying issues that's actually creating the sort of business environment we have at the moment.
All right, so that was the Managing Director of the Banking Association, Kes Kuvadia. What did Labour have to say about this?
Well,
they probably were disappointed.
They were very disappointed, you know, from the upbeat mood that they had yesterday when we left the Labour court in Braamfontein, saying that they are very confident that, you know, everything will go their way, to some much more subdued demeanour today, saying that they actually will appeal this decision and that, they still have a leg to stand on. And it's quite surprising because on the 7th of October, they had planned yet another strike, right? This one was going to be led by Cosatu. They're still pinning their hopes on that particular strike, that if they comply with the Section 77 of the Labour Relations Act, they could still get the strike happening on the 7th of October, which is, of course, intended to stop retrenchments in the banking sector. I did ask the Deputy Secretary General of Cosatu, Mr. Solipeto, as well, about what they're doing to empower their members at a time where we are moving through to automation. And he says, look, we're trying to make sure that our members are upskilled as well, but it does not mean that the banking sector should be shedding jobs at the rate that they are.
So Labour and the employers, the bankers, at odds at the moment, but the judge did suggest some kind of a solution as late as yesterday.
It sounds like by yesterday they had a meeting where the judge had already suggested that, you know, there could be an amicable solution, but it seems like not both parties were not feeling each other, if I may put it this way, about this, and wanting the judge to act on whether this interdict would be successful or not, which is essentially what happened. And we hear this from Kes Kuvadia again of the Banking Association. Let's take a listen.
Judge suggested a compromise yesterday before ruling on the internet today, and that compromise was that we go back to NEDLAC, because this wasn't discussed at NEDLAC, and we discuss it at NEDLAC and suspend the strike. We were quite happy to do that. Labour was not happy to do that. So any accusation that we don't want to go to NEDLAC to discuss this is quite honestly just not true.
So maybe a potential shutdown averted for now, but it doesn't seem as if this crisis is over by a long shot.
If Cosatu and SASBO are to be believed with how they responded to this one, saying that they're definitely going ahead to appeal this decision, this is not over by a long shot. You know, it seems like from the strike that SASBO had back in 1920, they want to make history again in making sure that the employers listen. You'll remember that one of their big concerns is also the issue of remuneration, saying that the banks are making profit, the executives are taking obscenely high amounts of remuneration or pay at the expense of workers, and they keep on shutting down. We've heard that Standard Bank had an intention of cutting down the number of branches in favor of automated tellers. And other banks have also followed suit, you know, maybe not at large scales, but, you know, all of them have been cutting here and there. I don't know whether that's a reflection of the economy as well, you know, that it's starting to pinch with the financial services sector as well. But I would imagine that, you know, all the sectors at this particular juncture of the economy are feeling the pinch.
All right, so it would have been the biggest strike in the banking sector for 99 years, and the public have been watching this, some even preparing for it. What's been their reaction generally?
So I loved going through Twitter since Monday, really, to hear what South Africans are saying, because you know that with us, there's always humor attached to even the worst of tragedies, you know, to make the day go a little faster. And some of them were talking about when municipality workers strike, they throw rubbish on the streets. Bank employees, please do the Lord's work. You know what that means.
Throw money
around. And there was another one that also caught my attention. They were saying that, when teachers strike, they throw chalks everywhere. Engineers throw tools. Garbage collectors throw garbage. And, when banks learn from them, though? This also tells me, you know, that it also... While there's humor attached to it, right? It shows you the kind of strain that the consumer is under. Who wouldn't want to see money strewn around on the streets, you know, just like the municipal workers do? But I'm very glad, for one, that the strike has been averted, because obviously of the implications that it would have had on the economy, even if it's just for one day. But it is still important that all parties find a solution at NEDLAC level to make sure that, you know, we cannot see this rapid amount of job losses in an already fragile economy, Peter.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You've got technology moving at a pace on the one hand, labour not being skilled fast enough on the other, and somewhere they've got to find a balance. But I guess we're going to have to watch this space.
We would have to, indeed.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, that was Liabo Setho reporting from our economics desk, giving us an update. So that banking strike is off tomorrow, a relief, I think, for consumers generally, but the bank workers will certainly be thinking of another plan of how they can be heard.